Nachi free.
If there's one thing I would like you to take away from this testimony, it is that aid in 2016 is not charity. It is national security. The international community, though it means well, is having a lot of meetings about the crisis. And I believe it's issuing a record number of press releases. But what it's not doing is cutting checks. As of last month, as you kind of about to hear, the UN's humanitarian response plans for 2016 had only received 9% of the funding they require. 9%. And grants are handed out annually, which is kind of on a hand-to-mouth basis with no predictability, which makes it impossible for these agencies to plan, which is madness.
Oh, Bono, why am I so suspicious of your sanctimonious crusade to help the less fortunate like a modern-day Mother Teresa?
Because he represents the stratospheric level of success you will never achieve at this stage in your pointless existence. He is the rock star you can now only dream of ever being, you disgruntled, feckless, middle-aged fool.
Perhaps, but I think it goes a little deeper than that, Lefty.
Oh, not by much.
I beg to differ. See, I've been doing a little research.
Yes, I hear you're quite the Google ninja.
Anyway, I've linked a few articles below for anyone who's interested in reading how Bono's asking for money yet again, only this time under the guise of helping out the Syrian refugee crisis in Europe. I even included his own op-ed article published in the New York Times.
How can you possibly have a problem with this, you heartless, cynical neocon?
Hear me out, Lefty. I want to help out too, man. I really do, okay? And I don't want to be part of the problem. I want to be part of the solution. And I get it. Bono is a great guy. He's a superhuman being. And I wish I could find it in my petty, shriveled, bitter heart to be as selfless and altruistic as he is. That's why I've been a U2 fan since I was in high school. As a matter of fact, the first rock concert I ever went to was U2 at the Orange Bowl back in 1987. However, I have a problem with him acting as a spokesperson for the United Nations, which is practically a cabal of sociopathic, murderous dictators, in my humble opinion, of course.
Oh yes, it's ever so humble.
And by the way, for someone like Bono, who moved his music business to the Netherlands to avoid paying a higher tax rate than in his native country of Ireland, he's got quite the nerve to be asking this on my favorite morning talk show.
I know the American taxpayer is really hurting at the moment, and the same in Europe. But I think between Europe and America, there is a consensus building that, you know, the corruption that's killing as many kids as disease can be dealt with by structuring these concessional loans on the conditions that that these countries that we give them to reform.
Reform? With these regimes? You mean like in Iran, where sanctions were dropped and they continue arms testing with death to Israel inscribed on their missiles? And not to mention where last year they executed over 700 of their own people in a single village for drug trafficking charges. Or in Cuba, where the embargo's been lifted but not a single political prisoner was released, and Cubans are still fleeing the island in droves to this day.
Oh, quit spinning this story around and taking Bono's words out of context.
Look, Lefty, all I'm saying is until a genuine global effort at the level of, say, Live Aid is undertaken to depose all these dictators and bring them to justice, such as Bashar al-Assad from Syria, who is getting help from Vladimir Putin in Russia, who's in cahoots with the Ayatollah Khamenei in Iran, who's been strengthening his ties with Xi Jinping from China, who's practically enabling the unimaginable crimes against humanity over in North Korea with Kim Jong-un. Until all those people are brought to justice, you can throw all the money you want at the world's problems. It ain't gonna go away until maybe more A-list celebrities like Bono use their star power to slut-shame these sociopathic tyrants out of absolute power instead of guilt-tripping working-class people to send more money to their personal charities of choice. Which, by the way, they don't always fork over even half the money they receive to the less fortunate.
Are you quite finished with your tiresome tirade, which has accomplished absolutely nothing for the plight of millions of people who've been displaced, in part to a civil war that is arguably due to your government's intervention in the Middle East?
What? Lefty, even if we were to pull out all the troops from the Middle East right now, that still would not solve the problem of poverty and oppression and radical Islamic terrorism, thanks to the other driving force behind this all, which is the time-honored, glorified superstition and willful ignorance, otherwise known as religion, and its mindless prayers that are as pointless as the guilt-tripping charity Bono now calls national security.
And this video is as pointless as your opinion.
But at least I still have the freedom to express it in the good old US of A. Thanks for watching.
Dope.
Homegrown.